Hey everybody, welcome to Buratech. In this episode, I'm going to be telling you one simple trick to make you richer in 2021. Alright, welcome back. Before I start this video, I want to make sure you like and subscribe. The more likes and subscribers we get, the more content we can make. So, I'm going to tell you a very simple trick that you can do in 2021 to make you richer. And that simple trick is to get paid in Bitcoin. Alright, so that concludes this video. No, never mind. All right, so let's dive into this. Now, one of the things that I highly recommend that you do in 2021 is to own some Bitcoin and possibly some Ethereum as well. And the reason for this is that I think Bitcoin is going to have a huge upside in the future. Now, the other thing about Bitcoin is that it is very volatile, meaning that we could see maybe a 50% drop at any given time. If I saw that tomorrow, it wouldn't surprise me, but I do think that Bitcoin is headed higher. With all the money printing in the world, I think that Bitcoin is going to go higher. I also think that gold, silver, and Ethereum are probably going to be worth more in the future as a result of all the money printing. So why should you get paid in Bitcoin? Well, believe it or not, there was a time in the past where wages went up and prices went down. And if this sounds amazing to you, that's because it absolutely was. I'm going to do a separate video about that, so please be sure to like and subscribe. So what this means is that if you worked harder and harder, you would make more and more money and everything around you would be getting cheaper. And this is absolutely amazing. Imagine if your savings had a multiple on them as you saved. It's obviously not like that today. Savers are absolutely getting crushed by the low interest rates. Now, of course, for most people who work every day for their money, this is absolutely not good. You have to spend all your money just buying assets. Now, I know what you're thinking. This has nothing to do with coding or technology, but I'm going to be getting into that in just a moment. But let's get back to why you're getting paid in Bitcoin. If you convert some of your paycheck to Bitcoin, or even better, get paid in Bitcoin, then your savings are going to get better and better over time. Now, what might happen is that, let's say you put $100 a month into Bitcoin, well, maybe that amount of Bitcoin will be less in the future for that same $100. So if you put in a little bit of your money to Bitcoin, you'll probably have a savings advantage. If you think about this, you do want your savings to appreciate. You don't want to just have to buy assets and income properties and a bunch of stocks. Wouldn't it be easier if you could just work at your job and get really good at your career and all of a sudden have your savings be worth more? So imagine if you're a hardworking person and the price of housing goes down year after year, meaning that the longer you wait and the harder you work and the more money you make and the more money you save, you're going to get a better deal on housing. Well, this is absolutely not the case. Housing just keeps on going up. It's not necessarily that housing is getting more expensive, it's that fiat currencies are being devalued against things you want to buy, like a house. So one of the things that you can do is putting into Bitcoin, and the more Bitcoin you have, the more savings you'll have. Now again, Bitcoin is very volatile. So if Bitcoin crashed 50% or 90% today, I would absolutely buy more because I think everything is sound. Of course, that is until a solar flare happens, in which case gold and silver will reign supreme. But I own all three. I own Bitcoin, gold, and silver, and I also own Ethereum because I guess we can put that in the same category. However, it's not quite the same. I'll be doing more videos about that. So I'm getting a lot of this information from this book by Jeff Booth. I highly recommend that you read it, but I'll summarize it here. Technology is inherently deflationary, whereas monetary policy is inherently inflationary. And I think that the bubbles that have been blown up in the last 10 years are going to get absolutely bigger. Now remember that you can be bearish on the underlying economy, but bullish on the bubbles getting bigger. I am exactly like this. I don't think our economy is set up in any way, shape, or form for prosperity. I think it absolutely caters to a lot of people who own assets. If you don't own assets, you're not getting ahead. And if you think about the argument of technology inherently being deflationary, it actually makes sense. I'm recording this on an iPhone, and that iPhone has a ton of different features in it. For example, the camera. Cameras used to be really expensive. In fact, top-end cameras still cost a lot of money. But 20, 30 years ago, you had to spend another chunk of money to get a different device. Your iPhone can do so many things for free that cost money in the past. Hence, technology is inherently deflationary. And this trend is going to continue. I talked about housing continually going up and up and up, but there is a huge deflationary force in housing, which is 3D printing. You can check out some of these amazing videos about how 3D printing is going to absolutely revolutionize housing. You can build housing for a lot less. And this is going to be huge because if you've ever tried to build your own house or anything, you realize that it's very expensive. So what does this have to do with technology, learning to code, etc.? Well, if you're learning to code or freelancing, try to get paid in Bitcoin. Now, this is very hard to do because even I can't pay my employees in Bitcoin because the infrastructure isn't there. However, some banks are allowing cryptocurrencies, specifically these stable coins, to be used within their ecosystem, and I bet in the future you'll be able to walk into any bank and get a crypto wallet. They don't want to do this, but they're probably going to have to. Otherwise, platforms like Bitcoin are going to totally eat the bank's lunch. There are so many cool things happening in crypto, I want to do a video about every single one of them. So like I said, I can't even pay my employees in Bitcoin, but I do highly recommend that anyone that I hire put some money into Bitcoin when they can. I personally use Coinbase, but if there's another kind of platform out there, you should definitely do that too, as long as it's a wallet. There are some platforms out there that allow you to get price exposure but aren't true Bitcoins. The reason why that's important is that at some point in time in the future, nobody's going to want to sell their Bitcoins and you'll be able to take out loans against it. You will actually have to own a Bitcoin, not just price exposure to it. That's something that's really important, and if you like and subscribe, I'll do a video about that in the future. So if you're a freelancer, it might be best to get paid in Bitcoin or move some of your money to Bitcoin because you'll get that price appreciation. Now remember, there's two ways to think of it. Either Bitcoin is appreciating or everything else is depreciating in relative to Bitcoin. And I think this is definitely what's happening with a lot of fiat money, specifically with the housing market, precious metals, and of course cryptocurrencies. So if you haven't already invested in Bitcoin, I highly recommend that you invest more, because a lot of the institutions as of this video are buying up all the mined Bitcoins on a daily basis. The reason why Bitcoin is surging is because it's scarce. If money is being printed, then money is not scarce. There are 46 million millionaires on the planet, so every millionaire cannot possibly buy one Bitcoin. If you can somehow figure out a way to own a Bitcoin, and if it crashes, I highly recommend that you pull everything together to buy a Bitcoin. In the future, people that actually own at least one Bitcoin is going to be very rare. Now, Ethereum is a whole other thing, and I highly recommend that you put some money into it. However, Bitcoin is definitely the thing that's going to appreciate the most, and Ethereum is a little bit more of a gamble. It's kind of like gold versus silver. Gold is a very safe bet, and silver is very volatile and frankly a little erratic. So I've talked about money printing quite a bit in this episode, and this channel is about learning to code, freelancing, making money with technology, etc. So what does that have to do with one another? Well, if you've ever not coded before and learned to code and then got a better job that pays more money, well, the main reason is that there's a lot of demand for technology, but the reason that nobody talks about is that you're closer in line to the money printing than you were before. So let's say you were a teacher and then you wanted to learn to code to get a job in software development. Well, one of the things you could do is go to a boot camp and then get a job in software development. And this is something I highly recommend you do. If you're really interested in software development, learn online, buy some online courses, go ahead and go to a boot camp so you get the connections and then get a job. And you're thinking, well, yeah, there's a lot of demand, but the real reason that you are making more money is that a lot of the technology is closer to the money printing than you were as a teacher. So the best analogy for this is you want to think of a coffee shop with a huge long line. And the first person in line is going to get the freshest coffee. And as the line goes down, the coffee doesn't get as fresh. So the people at the end are getting the most stale coffee, or worse, they might not get any coffee at all. So when it comes to money printing, the people that are first in line and that are well connected are going to be better off financially than the people in the back. And it's possible that some of the people in the back might not get anything. And if you're looking at society today, where there are people that seem to be incredibly rich and there are other people that have nothing, this starts to make sense. So what this ultimately means is that when you're further behind in the line and you learn to code, you jump the queue to something that's closer to the money printing, because a lot of the money printing goes straight to the hedge funds, and those hedge funds have to invest in startups. And these startups need technology, and technology needs to be built with coders. And hence, if you were just a teacher or a nurse or any other job where you worked hard for your money and you've learned to code, well, now you're still working hard for your money, but it's a lot easier because you're closer to the money printing. Now, this absolutely happened to me. Back in late 2011, I got involved with 2 startups that got funding, and guess what? I made a ton more money than I did the year before. In fact, I made so much money that I paid more taxes in 2012 than I made in 2011 altogether. This was absolutely amazing. And when I look at it, yeah, I had a huge break. But when I look back and really look at it, all I did was get into some startups that were closer to the money printing than I was in the past. But when I go back and I really look at it, yes, I worked hard, yes, I had a good product, and yes, I was in the right place at the right time. But the one reason I was able to make a lot more money is that I moved my queue in the line to the money printing. And the rest is history. All right, so that concludes this video. Where are you in the money printing line? I want to hear your comments down below. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and if you really like this video, please share it. Share this video wherever you can. Let everyone know about this video, because I think the information in this video is super important. If you really like this channel, you can subscribe to Mammoth Interactive's huge library of content. We release 20 to 60 hours of fresh new content per month. We release everything from drawing tutorials to Blender tutorials to machine learning tutorials to web development tutorials to mobile development tutorials and more. Again, we release 20 to 60 hours of fresh new content per month every month. We have a monthly and yearly option. It really helps out this channel and my company, Mammoth Interactive, when you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.